I'll share a little bit about myself for those of you who don't know me, and sorry for those of you who have heard this before. I know that several of you have been on many of our presentations. Again, my name is Mara Walsh. I am in the United States right now, specifically between Philadelphia and New York. I live very close to Philadelphia. I have asked all of you to put in the chat where you're coming from, and we see people from all over the world on today, so welcome. It looks like Trinidad and Tobago are coming in with tons of people, so that's also good to see. And of course, we have all the states in the continental and the remote United States of America, but we have people from all over the world. So it's really nice to see, from Australia to Canada, to the Virgin Islands, and they're flying in. Which leads me to another thing a lot of you ask is, why can't we see those chats? For security purposes and to make sure that we get a clean presentation, you will be chatting with me and with John Lee, but not with the other audience members. So I just wanted to go into a little bit about that. If you do need to chat, the chat is really just something that you're sending to me. If you need a question that you want mentioned while we're on this event, then you want to put it in the Q&A. So there's two buttons on the bottom. There's a chat mechanism and a Q&A mechanism. That's the difference between the two. Okay, back to me. So I started leading tours with EF Girl Scouts years ago, and I take girls and their families on international destinations every summer. I've since expanded my travel program, and I've added adult-only tours as well as family-friendly tours. In nearly all of my tours, I partner with EF Tours or their adult division go-ahead tours. Right now, obviously, we're not traveling physically, so the best thing to do when you can't travel physically is to travel virtually. There's a couple of reasons I started these virtual tour series. One was I really wanted to support the tour director community during this time of no work. We're not able to travel, and of course they're not able to work. So this was a way to not only get us traveling, but to get the tour directors busy as well. And I really wanted to keep the excitement of travel alive for my travel group. And then I extended that opportunity to those of you who've learned about us through family, friends, social media, and other means. We've done several tours in the past weeks. If you've missed any of them and you'd like to access the recording of those tours, they are available at girltraveltours.com/virtual tours, virtual-tours. If you go to my website, which is on the slide next to us, and if you need to, you can take a screenshot of any of the slides that we have up, or you can chat me later and I'll send you the links to them. We have several more moving forward in the weeks to come. We have the Amalfi Coast, which is up next. We have New Zealand, an African safari. We have Germany, Japan, the Highlands of Scotland, Alaska, Australia, and we have more to follow. So, you know, hunker down for the winter and join us on some virtual tours. As long as you're interested in viewing these tours, we will continue to produce them for you. You can register for future tours and view all recording tours, as I said, on my website, girltraveltours.com. But today, we are off to China. And before we get going, I want to share with you a few ways for you to interact with us during this event. As I said, we have the Q&A mechanism on the bottom. Those are for questions that you want John Lee to address after the presentation. We have the chat mechanism. That's for things that you want to share with me. And then we have a poll feature. And I'm going to launch the poll right now. This poll just gives us an understanding of how much you're connected with China. And feel free to answer it. I've been and love it. I have a trip booked. I know I have a trip booked, and many of you on this call are traveling with me. We're going in 2023. We have a physical trip booked to China and Japan. So I'm excited about that. I plan to go in the future, or I'm solely here for the virtual tour experience. So I'll give you a second as we get people to answer that question. If you don't see the poll jump up, you can click on the 3 dots on the bottom of your toolbar, and that's a more button, and the poll may be hidden in there. So you might just want to click on poll from there for it to pop up. Okay, so it looks like we have about 75% of the people have answered. And most of the people are planning to go in the future. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results with you so that you can see it. 45% say I'm planning to go in the future. I can't believe that no one said I have a trip booked. Oh, we have 9 people who have said they have a trip booked, and they better be going with me in 2023. And we have a big, decent percent, about 14% who've been and loved it. So that's an awesome representation of the people who are here tonight. Regardless of how much you know about China from before this event, we hope that you'll enhance that today on our virtual tour. And as we all know, a tour wouldn't be complete with a fantastic tour director. A tour director is like a personal travel concierge who stays with your group from start to finish and shares a world of knowledge and manages all your tour and travel plans, and makes sure that your experience is stressless and full of positive experiences. These are by far the most important people in your group. And if we're not traveling, these tour directors have no work. And I will share in the chat as we get going and during the Q&A how you may tip the tour director if you are so inclined. 100% of the tips do go directly to the tour director once they're collected. I'm hoping that this virtual tour will not only reignite our desire to travel, but allow a tour director to do what he does best, which is share his knowledge and passion for his country and for travel. And we're lucky today to have one of EF Tour's favorite Chinese tour directors. I am honored to introduce you to and hand over this event to our amazing tour director. You will love him. It's John Li. So John Li, feel free to take it over. I'm going to stop sharing and you can take it over and start your program.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Mara. Thank you very much. Hi, I cannot see you. You can see me, right? I hope so. I don't know if I should say good morning, good evening, good day to everybody because we seem in the different time zone. I'm in China now, currently in Shanghai city. You probably heard about this city, right? Some of you probably have been here. I can see we have about 10% of people have been to China. This is great. And now the time in China, we call it Beijing time. It's 7:08, so just about a little bit past 7 o'clock in the morning. All right. Yes, good morning and good evening to and good day to you all. My name is John Li, and obviously this is not a Chinese name. My Chinese name is Li Jun. Li Jun. So the Chinese way is we put the family name first. Li is my family name. Jun is my given name. So in English way should be Jun Li. But why we have an English name? English name is like if you speak English, if you learn English in the school, every student learn English in the school. So the teacher always asks you to choose an English name for yourself. Like you study Chinese, Japanese, or French, or Spanish, and you pick up the local name. So this is how I got my name, John. Sounds like Jun, you know. So Li is a very popular name, family name here, like your Smith. So Li Jun, my Chinese name. So if I translate it into English, it should be John Smith. This is my English name, all right? Okay, so today I'm going to share Beijing and also the Great Wall as one of the highlights. We will see it, all right? So if you're ready, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, just a moment. So many of you probably have been here and some of you are planning to, which is good. Hope you guys can see my screen here. Okay, that works. All right, so I will start from the Great Wall as a highlight. And you probably definitely heard about the Great Wall, right? You have seen the pictures, you have seen like the videos, and some of you watch the movies. And so you will see the Great Wall everywhere. You cannot avoid it when you talk about China or Beijing. And people are wondering why Beijing to see the Great Wall. The Great Wall is so long, not only Beijing. And later in the history talking, and you will see why Beijing is a good spot to see the Great Wall. All right. Okay, so I started from the location. I couldn't find the English map here. I don't know why, but I choose the Chinese. I can explain to you what is it. And from those little things, you can see the arrow here. Those are where the Great Wall was. This is a map from the Ming Dynasty, which is I'm talking about 600 years ago. And that time, the other side, the green colors, those today we call it Mongolia, but the old days we call them barbarians. We call them like invaders, and Tatars we call, and some people call Mongols, and even earlier Huns. Right, different time they have different names, but they never stop attacking from the north, and because for them the quickest way to get rich or to get the wealth, food, people, that is come quickly with their, faster horses, cross the border, and then rob in this area so they can go back, all right? And this place is where Beijing is today, all right? But in the old days, we call it Jingshi. It means the capital of the country. And the Great Wall started from almost the beach side and ended in the West Gobi Desert, which is called Shanghai Guan. Shanghai Guan is in this way, and Jiayu Guan is in this way. All right. So this is a whole Great Wall at the border that time. So the warriors, soldiers, they are fighting. This is for defending, a very efficient project for defending. All right. So when you see this map, there's like a Google map, you can see more or less the desert area. All right, this is totally outback over there. And the green colors, this is where the fertilized land, inland of China. And earlier time, China started to have their agriculture, storing the food and preparing and all give the surplus food to the emperors here. So the Great Wall basically is for defending, for keeping them out from the country here. All right, we probably will go back to this map again, but I want to talk about what is the Great Wall. Yes, we heard a lot about the Great Wall. The Great Wall is kind of for defending, keeping the enemies out. But how do we understand this Great Wall? In Chinese, we call it Changcheng, C-H-A-N-G, Chang. It means long. It's not means great, actually. The Great Wall is an English translation for the Chinese, but the Chinese way we call it Changcheng. And Chen, this character, pronounced it as a Chen, it can be understood as a city, town, or it can be understood as city wall. So we don't call it the Great Wall. If we translated the Changcheng into English, it should be long city or long city wall. Because in the Chinese philosophy, we believe the city or the town you live, if you have a city wall surround and you feel safe inside. So that's why when we built the long wall along the mountain ranges in the north part of China, and we feel safe. So that's why we call the whole country as a long surrounded walled city or area we live. So that's why in Chinese, we call Changcheng, basically it means a long city wall. But of course, it is very long and make people call it the Great Wall. It is the Great Wall. And because so far, this is one of the biggest, longest human-made project in the world, we probably can call it. And how long it is? 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers, more or less, because in the different time or in the different places, and some are broken situation, some are in the good situation, but not many, because it is a really long history. And we renovated a few times. Recent history could be in 1980s, 90s. We renovated for the tourists, but earlier, that is only for fighting on the war. okay? All right, so the Great Wall, it is also built by the first emperor in Chinese history, and that is a long time ago, 2,000 years ago. So if I say accurate, should be 221 BC, before the Christ. Yes, that is a 2,200 years ago. All right, our first emperor called Qin Shi Huang, the first dynasty Qin, and they built the wall to stop the enemies. Those enemies, today we call them Hans, the Hans. And in Chinese way, we call them Xiongnu, Xiongnu's. 2 years ago, when I visited the Mongolian Republic country, and I noticed in their history museums, their history has been recorded actually in Chinese. And in their museums, they also follow the name Xiongnu, not the Hans in English way, not that way. All right. So I collected some pictures and also want to share some little bit of knowledge about the Chinese dynasties. How many dynasties in China, Chinese history? 83. 83. So I'm going to use maybe 2 hours to go through. No, you don't want that, right? You don't want the 83. Okay, I'm going to pick up like a few highlights for you, all right? If you are experts of the history, and definitely please don't pick up these problems because, you know, I cannot cover 83, all of them. I will pick up only highlights for you to understand because they are involved with the Great Wall. And I have an easy way for you to remember this. All right, I started from when I mentioned about the first emperor in the first dynasty. Some people say, no, this is not the first dynasty in Chinese history. It should be Xia, should be Zhou, should be Shang. Why it's Qing? Well, before Qing dynasty, the country was all separated. We have so many small kingdoms. And the major kingdom, you may call them Shang or you may call them Xia, but they are not united. So only this time, from 221 BC, the first emperor of Qing kingdom defeated the other 6 small kingdoms and become the only one emperor in the country. So since then on, we call the whole country as a united country, but we call the country not really China that time. We call it Qing dynasty. Dynasty, basically it means one family rule the country as rulers. All right, have you noticed that we have the 2 ways of spelling? Qin is a Chinese way of spelling, but we have a Chinese characters for it too. But Qin is we call the pinyin. If you have learned a little bit of Chinese, you definitely learned this assistant way of pronouncing Chinese. Qin, basically in 1940s, 50s, we use it as like a spelling of Chinese characters or pronouncing it. But early time, when European people recorded this part of the history, they used a Latin way, which is a Chin, Qing dynasty. So that is how you can explain. We call this country as a China, because in different language, it's called Xina, Xinhua, China, Xin, Xini, Kini, or China. All right, so this is all started from the first united time, 221 BC to 2207 BCE. And this is a Qing dynasty. That is the first time we built the Great Wall. And the enemies, they were Hans. They were Hans here. All right, so with the times go, China entered the, oh, by the way, in Qing dynasty, we also built the terracotta warriors. You probably heard about it. This is a very recent discovery in 1970s, but was buried underground for 2,000 years. We found over 6,000 pieces of the warriors. They are made out of the terracotta, and the terracotta is like a clay. Some of you have been China before, and you definitely have seen that in Xi'an city. All right, so when Qing passed, very short time actually, you can see the time, 221 BC to 207 BCE, very short time, only past 2 generations. And then it's been taken over by Han dynasty, H-A-N, Han. Han is a much longer dynasty, and you see almost over 400 years. And in Han dynasty, we built a longer Great Wall, even longer than Qing dynasty. We enlarge it. We make it longer because we found it works. And we linked all these watchtowers with the steel walls. And those steel walls can make the soldiers move very fast. And in Han Dynasty, we built our own culture, civilization, or you can say the foundation of the Chinese customs. We call majority of Chinese Han Chinese. We call our characters called Hanzi. We call our language, we call Hanyu. So there are many Chinese basic things is related with this dynasty. Very, very important time. And it is also longest Great War history time, Han Dynasty. And the third one, you can see the time jumped to Tang Dynasty. Between them, there are so many small dynasties you probably heard about it. Like, for example, like Spring Autumn and, and also like the Wei Dynasty and so many separate small dynasties. They exist almost the same time. And between this time, actually, they have Mulan. This is some figures I can tell you between this time. We have Mulan in this time. So if you ask Mulan join the war or like step on the Great War, maybe because it's possible. This time we already have the Great War. Tang Dynasty is the highlight of Chinese history. Tang Dynasty is also the prosperous time and Chinese people are very proud of. And Tang Dynasty, we have a very strong connections with the whole world and mostly from West Asia, like the Persia area, today's Iran area. And Tang Dynasty, we have the connection with the Roman Empire, that area, the Europe. And we also have a connection with South Asia, East Asia, like Korea, Japan, and we all have the connection here. Tang Dynasty capital, these are three dynasties capital. They are all in Xi'an. And Tang Dynasty, the Xi'an population is about 1 million people. That's considered as one of the biggest city in the world. 1 million population in one city, Xi'an, the capital. And 20% of them are foreigners. So it's like a small New York that time. And Tang Dynasty, everybody from all over the world, they come to Xi'an, come to Tang. And they want to find a job. They want to offer something to the Chinese emperor to exchange the different things, right? So maybe you will ask me, oh, I heard about Marco Polo come to China. Is that this time? Not this time yet. Later, Marco Polo came later after Tang. And these are three first highlight dynasties. How to remember them? Very easy way. You touch your chin here, Qin Dynasty. With your hand, Han Dynasty. Stick out your tongue, Tang Dynasty. The first three major dynasties for you to remember in Chinese, all right? Qin, Han, Tang. Three dynasties, all right? So these are three dynasties. We built the Great Wall here, enlarged the Great Wall here, and the defense from the Great Wall in Tang Dynasty. And with the time goes, we go to the second part of Chinese history from Yuan to Ming and Qing. Yuan Dynasty, actually, you've heard Genghis Khan and one of his grandson, Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan built the Yuan Dynasty. And Yuan Dynasty, they took half of the China mainland, half of it. So up to Yangtze River, they all belong to Mongols. Down to Yangtze River, that is called the Song Dynasty. All right, they exist the same time. So that's why I didn't mention about the Song Dynasty. But after Tang, we have so many small dynasties and also Song dynasties. But Yuan Dynasty was a major dynasty time and built by Mongols that time, Kublai Khan. So Yuan Dynasty, they took over the Great Wall. It's the trophy they got. They don't need the Great Wall to defend anything because they're already taken, right? Yuan Dynasty, Yuan means universe, and the Chinese currency, money. Some people call RMB, some people call renminbi, and you also can call it a yuan. It's a unit. It's like a unit of dollar. The Chinese, if you say 5 yuan, it means $5, all right? So yuan is like money, all right? Or it means universe. Ming Dynasty, a lot of history here. because Ming Dynasty is the last time we built the Great Wall. We built the Great Wall with the bricks. Ming Dynasty last, you can see from 1368 to 1644. Their Chinese emperors dominated the country, and they built the best Great Wall in the history because they have higher technology, mechanics to build these bricks walls instead of stones or the earth or the soil, the Great Wall. So Ming Dynasty, Ming, M-I-N-G, means brightness. And some Chinese figure remind you, the former Chinese NBA player, Yao Ming, very tall guy, Ming Dynasty, that's right. And the last one, Qing, or you can spell it as Ching. They were built by Manchurians, the offsprings of Mongols, all right, Manchurians. Manchurians, they built the Qing dynasty. They took over Ming dynasty's forbidden city, and they stayed inside in Beijing and ruled the country. So the Qing, what's the difference from the first one, Qin? This one, Qing. So the sound comes from the front of your tongue, Qing dynasty, between your teeth, Qing dynasty. And the last one is from your throat, Qing dynasty, Qing dynasty. All right. So from your throat, this sound here, Qing, the end of your tongue here. So how to remember these three? Yuan is like money. Spend a lot of money inviting Yao Ming to play basketball, and his performance make people shocked, choked in the throat here. All right, try to remember this. Yuan dynasty, Ming dynasty, very tall guy, Ming dynasty, and Qing dynasty. All right, so if we try to remember these six, try to recall with me. All right, from the first one, Qing, Han, Tang, Yuan, or you can do this way, it's okay. And Ming, tall guy, Ming dynasty, Qing dynasty. All right, so well, tomorrow you can show off in your friend, in front of your friends what's the sixth dynasty about the Chinese. All right, okay, so they're all related with the Great Wall. We built the Great Wall in the first dynasty, Qing, enlarged it in Han, and we defended it in Tang dynasty. We lost the function of the Great Wall in Yuan dynasty. We rebuilt the Great Wall in Ming dynasty. And here, we connected by the Great Wall in Qing dynasty, because the Great Wall connected like, the northern area, Mongolia time, and, the East Asia, and also to the west, like Xinjiang or Tibet. And here, they all marry each other, so they don't need the Great Wall. So the Great Wall basically is a connection between these neighbor countries, all right? All right, let's go to the next one. What's the material for building the Great Wall? Since we passed the Great Wall history for 2,000 years, how many years we spent for building the Great Wall? Totally, we added them together, more than 1,000 years for building the Great Wall, more than 1,000 years. So in the early time, we built the Great Wall with the earth. This is especially in the desert area. So you can see, I've been this part of a Great Wall in the Gobi Desert. And basically, you cannot imagine this is a Great Wall area, all right? Because most part, they're in this situation because it's been there for 2,000 years. And many of them are already just destroyed by the wind, by the probably sometimes acid rain, and local probably people, they took away the materials for building the stables, houses. It could be, all right? So this is earth material. That is in Qing dynasty, yes. And Han dynasty, they started to use the stones. They collected the stones in the local area and they pile them up. Probably this one reminds you in England or somewhere in the world, some countries, they have the walls too. It's true, from Rome time, they have the heartland, they have a different part of the walls for defending. Yes, this part of the wall actually is very small size. basically, as a tourist, if you don't go so deep in the country, you will not see this part. In Beijing, you will not see this part, right? Because they're all in the broken shape. They are far away from the major cities. Those are stones they collected from a local. Well, Ming Dynasty, the tall guy, Yao Ming, Ming Dynasty, 600 years ago, we built the best condition of Great Wall. We baked the bricks, and those bricks, they've been piled up, stick together. You see the white color because after renovation, they use a lime. But earlier, they mixed with the rice porridge. It's like a cooked rice, sticky rice. You probably heard about that. And some even with the fruits. We had the kiwi fruit for a long time. Yeah, kiwi fruits. Yes, I noticed we have some audience from Australia, New Zealand, but kiwi fruits earlier time in China, we already have. So they've been mixed with the sticky rice and kiwi fruits to make all these bricks stick together. Yeah, a lot of tourists climb the Great Wall, but don't lick the wall, although they are very vitamin, but don't lick, all right? So we're not testing anything. Okay, the Great Wall in Ming Dynasty, they're built by bricks here, made out of bricks, all right? And today, show you this. Materials made out of people. All right, this is a joke. All right, so in China, we have the holidays, and holidays, especially like May 1st, October 1st holidays. So many tourists climb the Great Wall. So the whole Great Wall looks like they're made out of people here. So I made a joke with people, but some of you are expert of the history, and you probably heard the Great Wall did have the human bodies inside. Is that true? It is true. In the old days, like 2,000 years ago, when the first Great Wall was built by the slaves, many people died and they were just buried inside of the Great Wall. It's true. So the Great Wall not only just built by the earth, stone, bricks, but really built by the flesh and blood. It's true. But I didn't mean this time. This is just joke about tourists, all right? Avoid May 1st, October 1st, but usually just avoid the first day, but second day, third day will be better. Some of you been in China, if you've been this time during these two holidays, I believe you have this memory, right? All right. The Great Wall has different functions, right? And there are many different structures. And this is a very important thing, Garrison. Garrison, they're like the commander area or like the pass, the traffic control place. And the Great Wall started from the beach, the East Sea, from the left picture. This is called a Shanghai Guan. Guan means a pass, the garrison. This is where the commanders live. There are 9 famous garrisons along the whole Great Wall, 9. Beijing has 1. It's called the Juyongguan. But in the east, in Shanghai Guan, this is a beach area and had built the first pass, Shanghai Guan. I remember in 2006, I guided about 15 tourists from England, and we started from the Shanghai Guan. We walked all the way to Beijing. It took us over 11 days. But between the Great Walls, we were taken by the bus. The bus took us between the Great Walls. So the Great Walls are not connected as a one piece. We didn't really can walk from the beach to the desert. We cannot, right? You have to stop, take the vehicles or walk on the road to the next section. All right, the Great Wall from the beach area and ended in the Gobi Desert, Jiayuguan. I also been here, Jiayuguan. Tourists can ride the camels around this area. Jiayuguan's the city wall actually was built by the earth, not really the bricks, but here is the bricks. Yeah, excuse me, I need to plug the, sorry. Just to plug my computer. All right, so power back. All right, so the garrisons or passes, those are commanders' living area. Give you the idea, started from the beach, ended in the Gobi Desert. Watchtowers. There's so many watchtowers here. You remember the movie Lord of the Rings, and when they set up the signals and they set up the fire, smokes, it's true. on the Great Wall here, those watchtowers for the soldiers guarding, but also for setting up the signals. And the signals can be the smoke, or can be cannon gun shot, just in case in the foggy day, the soldiers on the other top of the tower, if they missed the smoke, because in the foggy days, and they can hear the cannon gun shot. And this smoke will burn with the wolf dung. Yes, the wolf poops. So the local wolf poops, they collect, dry them, they burn them, they make a very strong dark black column of smoke up to the sky. Two meanings. One meaning is the wolf dung, they make the very dark black smoke. I never tried that, but I don't know it has this function. But the other significance is wolf can call up their friends, their partners, and they are also like the allied forces gathered together to fight against the enemy. So they have a significance inside. So we call it wolf smoke. And cannon gun shots also can remind the soldiers how many enemies they come in. Basically, one column of black smoke plus one cannon gun shot, it means about 500 enemies coming. 2 times means 1,000. 3 times, 2,000. So they use this simple way to pass the signals. So every watchtowers, when they receive the signals, they pass down the message so the commanders can get ready quickly, all right, when they found the enemies coming. Beacon towers. So watchtowers for guarding, beacon towers also for keeping the soldiers, and also on the top, you can see here, there's no houses for soldiers living. On the top is more like a platform, so they can set up this fire, so as a signals. So inside, it looks like this. Soldiers can live inside, but from the windows, they still can observe. This is a very good angle to take pictures through this window or doors or holes on the beacon towers. Weapons, cannon guns, yes. Gunpowder is one of the ancient Chinese inventions. What are the other 3? We call 4 ancient Chinese inventions change the world history, okay? Gunpowders, right? Compass, yes, compass, they can travel. What else? Paper making and printing, exactly. Here, the weapons. I show you this picture. On the battlements of the wall, the Great Wall, there are different shape of the holes here. What are these holes for? They have different functions. This shape on the top is for watching. If the enemies get closer, for protecting themselves, soldiers stand behind these battlements walls, so they see through, watch through the holes to observe the enemies, how close they are. When those holes, they are bigger from inside, but outside is smaller. This is for shooting arrows, The bigger inside can give them more angles. Smaller, so they can, just in case the arrows are shooting through these holes. And this one, under or closer to the floor, they can be different size. The small size or big size, those are not for the rats, for the mouse. Those are for the cats. Those are for it's for the, if it's a big size, it's for the rolling rocks. So they can go put a rock inside. So the rolling rocks, the timbers, they can rolling through the enemies, or the stones, stone balls, or the hot oil. Or the hot oil can be pulling out from this. So the oil can make the city wall very, slippery. So they cannot climb up here. All right, they have different functions, weapons, just mentioned. Here, this is a very special wall in Beijing. If you travel very deep, you can find this place. This place is called Sima Tai. Some of you probably been there. Very far away. You have to drive about at least 3 hours on the highway, so you can get here. Those walls, they built one layer by one layer. Why is that? Because this is a very highest peak point of Beijing, highest place. And so when the enemies, they took over the Great Wall, they tried to climb up to the commander's place. So every few steps, they will have the soldiers hiding behind for protecting from the attacking up. So when they climb up, they will be attacked, defensed from the Chinese side. So this is very special. All right, only few places have this style Great Wall. Great Wall has all different style in different area. Functions. If we summarize the Great Wall, what is the functions to? Barrier, that's for sure. Fence, it's like a fence your garden, fence your backyard. It's true. Highways, what is a highway to explain? So those steps, some are flat areas, some are steps if you want to go up. Instead of climbing the rocks, mountains, those stairs is much faster for the Chinese soldiers moving. So they can move in the weapons around, they can shift the armies from this side to the other side, right? So defense, that is easy because, we have a famous saying, one soldier in charge of the Great Wall can defeat thousands of enemies. So this is a very strategic point of control, and so they can, defend from the Great Wall. They don't need to go out to fight. They can just wait and fight. Strategic point of control, that is for sure. They usually build on the top of the mountain, so they control best position so they can fight with advantage. Traffic control. We mentioned the garrisons, passes. Those places can control the traffic. So the northern people, if they want to come into the mainland that time, they have to go past the Great Wall. They have a certain roads built, go through the Great Wall with a gate, garrisons control there. So it's a traffic control. Watching towers, the soldiers watching, guarding, that is all connected. Storing the weapons, storing the food. So soldiers can stay there for 1 week easily. They can have place to sleep, have food to eat, have weapons carried to fight. Settling, when the soldiers, a troop of army moved to this place for guarding here, they took their family. And they also have a lot of merchants and also farmers. Farmers had grown the crops, supply the food, and also blacksmiths to make their weapons. So they make the whole place settled with the army and also with the common people. Connections. The Great Wall not only just blocking people, but also can connect. For example, before the Great Wall built, the tribes, when they communicate or exchange the goods, they just randomly, they move around, go to the different village. But since the Great Wall built, they started to set up twice a month to have this fair market. The fair markets, they usually happen nearby the garrisons. So garrisons commanders can keep the order of the markets. So the merchants from West Asia or North Asia, they can meet Chinese farmers or merchants at the Great Wall place. They can exchange the goods. So it is also connected the economy that time. All right, and of course, there are so many things can be happened along the Great Wall, so many functions, right? I just threw a little bit interesting stories for you. In 1972, when the first president visited China, first president who visited China, okay, Nixon, yes, with his wife. This is a Great Wall of Badaling, that is in Beijing. In 1990s, the very famous magician, David Copperfield, and he had a very famous performance, like travel through the Great Wall. It's not a secret anymore. If you want to know better not, okay? Enjoy the magic. Don't see the secrets, all right? How he go through the Great Wall, very interesting. We have the Great Wall underneath the water. How it happened? Did they build underneath the water? No, because we had some part of the Great Wall in the low valley, but later we built the dam there. The water flood drawn those Great Wall underneath the water. So we had a tour kind of like you can go underneath the water to dive and to see the Great Wall in a different perspective. All right, very unique. I've been there once, but I didn't go underneath the water. I only see these pictures. All right, in 1990s, there are a couple artists, Wu Lei from Germany and his ex-wife, Marina from Bulgaria, I remember, or maybe different country, I forgot. So Wu Lei just passed away in March this year, and his ex-wife, very famous contemporary artist. So in 1990s, when they just separate and they decide to end the relationship from the Great Wall. So they started from each side of the Great Wall. They took almost 1 year to meet in the middle of the Great Wall. There are some interesting story about it. If you try to dig, you can Google Wu Lei and Marina. There's a couple of contemporary artists. 2 years ago, the movie The Great Wall. The Great Wall, some movie mixed with a Chinese legendary. So if you're interested, you can watch this movie, Matt Damon, right? And also some Chinese actors. A very interesting movie, all right? So you can watch. And the Kung Fu, the martial art technique designer is one of my friends, and who is martial art director of this movie. And I personally do the martial art for over 10 years. And this movie has some very good movements. It's designed by my friend. Okay, since I couldn't see your question so far, but later, and I will throw some question for you to reflect this whole thing. So how long the Great Wall is in your head? 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers? That's correct. Is the Great Wall connected as a one wall? I mentioned a few times, actually not, right? So although it looks like a one piece of wall in the map, but it's not, right? They have different sections. You're correct again. Can astronauts see the Great Wall with the naked eye? Depends on how to ask this question, all right? Some people say from the moon. That's impossible. That's impossible. You cannot see that, all right? With the naked eye. But in the space, it is possible in the space, because, you know, if you are just out of the atmosphere, out of the space, which is our visual see with the naked eye, that is about 30 kilometers away. And if in a certain good weather, you see the Great Wall, it's not a too surprise, because you also can see the highway. So out of the space, okay, out of the atmosphere of the global, and it's possible for you to see the Great Wall in a certain good weather, but you will also see the highway. Who were the enemies the Great Wall defended China from? This is tricky because it depends on the time. The earlier is Hans and later Mongols. Hans, 2,000 years ago. Mongols, about 1,000 years ago, when the Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan time. Okay, 900 to 1,000 years ago. That is also the time Marco Polo came into China, 900 to 1,000 years ago. Did anyone visit the whole Great Wall? Yes, yes. I personally met 3 people. They did the Great Wall. Some took over 2 years. Some quickest way is about 1 year. But between the Great Wall sections, they need to take vehicles, and they research and study the Great Wall, right? And of course, the travelers, they do that. But most part of the Great Wall, they're in the destroying. They're in very, very remote area and in a very destroyed situation. Only the Great Wall in Beijing or at the beach place or in the desert, there's the garrisons, they're being restored. Only few places you can see the complete Great Wall renovated. Did Mulan ever guard the Great Wall? Mulan, the time is right just before the Tang Dynasty. So in theory, it's possible. In theory, it's possible. Do you like the new Mulan? Most Chinese people don't, because we think it's totally different from what we imagine. But the first one, the first cartoon, Everybody love it. I shared it with my daughters, and they said that they love the cartoon one. Yeah. Okay, so so much for the Great Wall, and if you don't mind, I'm going to. I will keep the Q&A in the end. For saving the time, I will quickly also talk about Beijing. I hope the Great Wall history will help you to understand. This is one of the 7 wonders made by humans and still exist today, you can see. All right, when you come to China, definitely you will climb on the Great Wall and you have this good foundation stories, and when you visit the Great Wall, enjoy it. All right. So I'm talking about Beijing. Beijing is a very important city in China. Politically, this is a capital. And in the last 5 dynasties, we also use Beijing as a capital city. So Beijing has a history over 3,000 years as a city, but as a capital, over 850 years, almost 900 years, all right? So this is a Beijing history. And in Beijing, you can see so many things. Some of these pictures remind you something like Tiananmen Gate, right? With a mouse picture, and the Temple of Heaven, the Great Wall for sure. And where's Beijing located? What does Beijing mean? Bei means north. Jing means a capital. Beijing means a north capital. Do we have a south capital? In the history, yes. In the history, but today we also have this city. But in the history, used to be the capital called the south capital, Nanjing. Follow my arrow here. This is the south, Nanjing, nearby the Yangtze River. This is a blue color Yangtze River. This part is Mongolia. This is Japan, all right? So this is outside of like Russia and a different West Asian country. So north capital, Beijing. In the history, south capital, Nanjing in the south, here. But what about this west? This is Xi'an today. Xi means west. In the history, Xi'an used to be called West Capital, Xijin. It's true. Here, we have a university named after Xijin University. Here, this is west. People will ask, you have north, you have south, you have west capitals. Do you have east capital? If you ever studied Chinese, you will know where is the east capital. Yes, some people already answering where's the east capital. Here, in Japan. Which city? Tokyo. Tokyo in Chinese character is east capital, Dongjing. So here, I will repeat the name in Chinese. Beijing, this is the capital city of China now. Nanjing, Xi'an used to be the capitals in the history. Dongjing, Tokyo. Why we call it the East capital? We didn't call it. Japanese named it as the East capital because Tang Dynasty, 1,300 years ago, from Japan, they have people visit Xi'an, a group of young people, 1,500 people. They took the ship all the way to travel to Xi'an, and they stay there for years to learn the Chinese history, characters, culture, lifestyle, and they brought not only the culture, but also the language, characters. They moved to Japan. So for respecting the country China, and they named their city Tokyo with a Chinese character, East Capital. All right, so this is a part of the history, but it's not really literally exist as a Chinese East capital, not really, just translation from the characters. All right, make this clear. How big is Beijing? If I give you the number, 16,800 square kilometers. What is that? It's big, right? It's big. It is big. It's even bigger than some countries even. But from the area, Beijing is divided by 18 districts. Those districts, but the red color here, this is a municipality, which is an urban area. But around Beijing, those districts, they are all administrative area of Beijing. It's like a big Beijing, right? And Beijing has a very little flat area for building the city, which is about 38%. 62% of Beijing actually are in the mountainous area. So that's why Beijing have this smog in the fall, no, sorry, not in the fall, in winter, in spring, is quite often, because this is like Los Angeles, you know, like LA, or, you know, in the valley. So there's, if a little bit of pollution here, they stay until when the big wind can blow it away, all right? So this is a reason. So sometime when we have a polluted Beijing, people make jokes. We call it a Beijing because we have smog, Beijing. All right, so Beijing's traffic, I would like to use ring roads, the loopways, ring roads. I used to live in Beijing, nearby the center. That time I rent a place. And later I bought an apartment along the third ring road. But I noticed that in 10 years, the Beijing has been enlarged to 6 ring roads. Inside of 6 ring roads is still called the urban city of Beijing. And outside of the 6 ring roads called a suburb, and the countryside even further. So where is the 6 ring roads in this map? Almost here. This is a 6 ring roads here. So inside the 6 ring roads, more or less they take 1/5 of the whole Beijing. So this is called the big urban area, the municipality, all right? Where's the Great Wall? Great Wall is somewhere here. To the very north part of Beijing, this is a Great Wall area. So if you travel from the Beijing city to the Great Wall, the nearest one, you need to take traffic over 1.5 hours to get to the nearest one, here. So we have a Badalin Zhiyongguan here, we have a Mutianyu here, we have a Sima somewhere here. So along this way, they have the Great Wall, all right? So they are far away from the Beijing city, all right? But the whole area is called Beijing. And we don't have the first ring road that is outside of the Forbidden City, where this red star, the Forbidden City area. Second ring road, third ring road, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're like a spider nets, all right? Some people say, oh, it looks like a Paris or somewhere. It's true, like the shape, but the area is much bigger. I do the compare for you, how big it is. If I move the Beijing map, the 6 ring roads to London, basically our second ring road can cover the London urban area. And the 6 ring roads, which is only 1/5 of Beijing, almost cover the whole side outside of the London. So Beijing area equals 10 Londons, the size. New York. This is a 6 ring road. You can see almost cover the whole New Jersey. So whole Beijing equals 20 New York, 20 New Yorks. Paris. Paris, the 6 ring roads already go through all the 12 provinces around the Paris. How many Parises equals Beijing? 155 Paris equals Beijing. What's Beijing's population? 23 million people, 23. How many countries in the world? Over 200 countries. How many countries have over 23 million people? In the whole world, there are 58 countries have the population over 23 million. So Beijing's population basically equals a whole Australian, all right? This is a big Beijing. It's like a country, small country. It is huge. In Beijing, what do we can see? 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Yes, 1 city, 7 World Heritage Sites, 7. Forbidden City, built 600 years ago in Ming Dynasty, used by 24 emperors, including the last emperor. You will have at least a half day travel the whole Forbidden City. This is an imperial city, very, very complete, well preserved, worthy to spend at least a half day. A lot of houses there. The Great Wall. We spent a lot of time on it, and for sure you will visit that, find a good day. And Temple of Heaven. This is where the ancient Chinese emperors do the ritual ceremony, because we call the Chinese emperor, the power is called a mandate of heaven. So the emperor got the power from the heaven, and they need a place to communicate with the Father of heaven. So here is doing the ritual ceremony, Temple of Heaven. Very beautiful architecture. Summer Palace. This is a royal garden and the place where the emperor can spend their summer. All right. The water brings the temperature down. It's very, very comfortable if you travel here in summertime, Summer Palace. All right. This is the Ming Tombs area. In Beijing, we have the Ming Dynasty capital. So 13 Ming emperors were buried about 50 kilometers away from Beijing. They are in the same cemetery area. We discovered one of them. We excavate one of them. So if you're interested in the Ming Dynasty history, this is a Ming tombs, Ming Dynasty emperor's tombs. Where's this? Peking Man's archaeology site. Peking Man is considered one of the first resident humans in this area about 700,000 years ago. They're cavemen. They stand up, walk, and use a fire in the cave. All right. We found the skeleton, the bones, but during the Second World War, we lost it. We just don't know. We lost this caveman's skeleton, yeah, the fossil. And the seventh one, a few years ago, we just added this one. That is a Grand Canal area. The Grand Canal is the biggest man-made canal in the world, in China, okay? But this Grand Canal was connected Beijing and Hangzhou. One is the south, one is the north. Beijing is where the capital is. Hangzhou is where the Alibaba is today. West Lake, Alibaba, the very big internet business. Did you buy the stocks? Okay, what else we can see in Beijing except this World Heritage? Historical sites, I will go through quickly. Tiananmen Gate, which is the entrance gate of the Forbidden City, but today become very political because the square right in front of the gate is called a Tiananmen Square. And you probably heard a lot of things about this. By the way, a tip for you, when you travel in China, don't ask 3 T questions. One is Tiananmen Square, one is Tibet, one is Taiwan. Don't ask this question. Nobody want to involve in these sensitive questions, all right? 3 T, Tiananmen Square, Tibet, Taiwan. This is a Beihai Park, the Yuan Dynasty's park, 700 years old, just right behind the Forbidden City. This is one of the oldest imperial garden in the world. Beautiful in summer, the lotus flowers everywhere. This is a Tibetan Buddhism stupa here. Lama Temple. If you're interested in the Chinese, religion, like the Tibetan Buddhism, Beijing is a place you can visit the Lama Temple. Very beautiful temple, Lama Temple. Drum Tower, Bell Tower. Those are time tellers in the ancient time. Drums in the evening, bells in the morning to remind people time. It's an old tradition. But today, if you visit the top of the drum tower, you can have a very good bird eye view of the whole Beijing city, old city. And every 1 hour, they have the drum performance. Very beautiful. Drum tower, keep in your mind. And modern vibes. We have the Olympics 2008 Olympic site, Olympic Center, the Bird's Nest Water Cube in this area, if you want to have a look there. And we have a National Opera House. This is the same architect who designed the De Gaulle airport. He's very famous. He built a few different modern architectures in the world. So in the beginning, people say it's not a match in the Beijing, but later people feel like it's great. It looks like a huge dinosaur egg, right? And we have a contemporary arts area called 798 Contemporary Art Zone, 798. It used to be a military factory, but later used as a contemporary arts exhibition zone. Very famous area. Yes, you can visit the zoo, see pandas. We have 8 pandas in Beijing Zoo. They are just adorable. You will love it. If you can travel deeper in China, you can go to Chengdu. But if you only visit Beijing, some major cities, Beijing Zoo is a place you can see panda. All right. And in 2 years, we're going to have a universal, yes, in Beijing. If you're from America, you definitely have seen that, right? Or if you want to experience different. In Shanghai, you can see the Disneyland. This is a place I strongly recommend you should do. It's called a Hutong. Hutong is an alley street. We only have a few areas left in Beijing. This is reflected the old Beijing lifestyle. People live in the short houses, brick houses, no fancy looking, very humble, but inside they can decorate as fancy as they want. Very expensive, although it looks shabby here, right? But very interesting place to visit. And a popular way for you to is to take the rickshaws. As a tourist, you can quickly go through these maze alleys. Very safe, very, very safe, very traditional. And every year, every time when I take my students groups or adults groups, I always want to visit some local families, let them to have a zero distance contact with the local people. We share the food there, we share the story there, and it is a very interesting experience. This is a courtyard in the Hutong areas. All right, I'm the person take the pictures there. This is one of my group, one of the best groups I have. Food in Beijing, this is a very interesting topic, and yes, China is a place where we can have a lot of food, not only just sweet sour chicken or dumplings or something. No, more than that, okay? In China, if you don't want to repeat the food, if you want to try all the cuisines, you need at least 1 year, every day, change the food to eat. So don't ask today what we eat today, always Chinese food, but you will see what we have. Peking duck in Beijing. Of course, this is a delicious food from Beijing. Okay, Peking duck, very delicious. Used to be for only emperor, but now everybody can try. Very decent price and very good food, right? And this is a Mongolian hot pot. Mongolian hot pot and different lamb, beef, different things you can put in the hot pot. This is a happy time with a family or friends. You know, people share the hot pot, right? What else? Yeah, this is a sweet, you know, the red color things, those crab apples, they are sour, right? Very sour crab apples, but coated with sugar and it make it sweet and sour. It's a very popular sweet things we have in Beijing. Usually only cost you $1. You can get 1 stick. All right, very beautiful food, sweet. Beijing noodles is basically it's a kind of a Chinese spaghettis. All right, we have a minced meat or vegetarians, different noodles mixed together. We have thousands kinds of noodles. This is a Beijing style noodles. Dumplings, yes, this is a waterboard dumplings, 饺子, 饺子 in Japanese, 饺子, 饺子 dumplings. You can have a different stuff. If you are, how to say, the vegetarians, it's no problem. We have the vegetarian dumplings here. But if you're gluten-free, better stay away from it. We don't have a gluten-free dumplings. Pot stickers. In Chinese, 锅贴, pot stickers. Pancakes. This is street food. You can find a $1 for one. In America, it's $10. So you can get this in Beijing. Are you ready for the crazy food? You probably heard a lot of crazy food, right? In the street, some of you being here, you probably took pictures of the scorpions, snakes, spiders. Tell you the truth, we don't eat them. They're for tourists. We don't eat them, but I will show you what is a local crazy food to you. Are you ready for that? What is this? Those are tribes, the cow stomachs. Tribes, right? It is weird. All right. I heard in South America they eat that, and actually in the East Europe they also eat the tribes. What is this? Those are silkworm pupas. Yes, we eat them. Very high protein. Hey, you know what? The food revolution is coming. People will eat the bugs already. Have you ever tried the cricket powder? I believe you do. Okay, what is this? Duck head. Duck head, yes. We eat a chicken head, a duck head, any head. A fish head, yes. We eat a fish head. Fish head is one dish. How big the fish is. And what are those? Those are pancakes. They're soaked with a fish head broth. I know, sounds weird, but have you ever tried eye? You should. I don't eat this personally. Turtle. This is a freshwater turtle. I don't eat it. Oh, we don't eat the shells, okay? We only eat a very little meat. I don't know why people enjoy it. I don't eat it. What is this? This is goose intestines. Yes, we eat goose intestine, chicken intestine, duck intestines, pig intestines. I know, gross. Pig ears. Pig ears. Pigtails. How many pigs? Oh my God. Pigtails. Can you eat pigtails? We do. We eat everything. The legend century eggs. Yes. Some people say, are they really 100 years? No. 30 days. Why is so black, green? Can we really eat it? It's been fermented. It's been fermented, so that's why it looks weird, right? But when you got used to it, you kind of enjoy it. This is a fermented stinky tofu. Tofu usually is a white color, protein. But after fermented, they become like this color and oil fried with a chili sauce. Yummy. Smells bad, but yummy. Imagine it's like your blue cheese. Feel better? Blue cheese. Smell bad, but tastes good. Duck blood. Duck blood. Duck blood. We eat a pig blood, duck blood. Make them like a jelly. Make them cubes. Ew. Famous chicken feet. We eat a chicken feet, duck feet, and goose feet, pig's feet, and cow hoofs, sheep hoofs. We almost eat everything. It's true. But a lot of crazy things we don't eat now. But those things are still kept down. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And hope you enjoy this little quick glimpse of Great Wall and Beijing. Thank you for your time. I will go back to Maria.
John, that was awesomely terrific, although I don't know why you ended with all that gross food, but that's okay. I really enjoyed it, and I was chuckling myself in the background. So anyway, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Obviously, you gave us some really interesting and fun facts, and I was really impressed, and I totally can't wait to go on my China tour in 2023. We're going to jump to the Q&A. So if you don't mind, John, open up your Q&A and we're going to start going through them. And if you don't mind reading them before you answer them so that everybody in the audience knows what question you're answering. And as soon as you're ready, you can take it from there, and I'll put myself on mute and just help you through the questions.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you. Thank you all, and sorry for the time a little bit over there, and I will quickly answer people's question. Can we travel to China at this time? Now it's very difficult unless you prepare for 14 days quarantine. So basically it's very hard unless you live here or work here. Travel, it takes a lot of unnecessary time. It's safe to travel there except except the COVID situation. Very, very safe. China is one of the most safe country in the world. China is a country we banned the guns. Nobody carry guns. And even nobody carry the knife. If you take the knife, you cannot take the subways or public buses. It's a very safe place. People are very, very mild, smile. You can feel that way when you walk in the street. Why the war not in one piece seems to go off and ends in a different location? Very good question, thank you. The Great Wall in the different sections, and because the Great Wall were built along the mountain range. So if the mountain is very high, their natural defense, they don't need to build the wall there. And some walls, they only for controlling the traffic and controlling the area for fight. But they will also use the natural mountains as a natural defense. Let me see. Oh, how long did it take to build the Long Wall? In the history, we totally spent 1,000 years to build that. Some dynasty built, some dynasty didn't. Manchurian related to the Mongols, and was the wall intended to defend against them? This is a very good historical question. Thank you. The Manchurians, they are considered as offsprings of the Mongols. It's true, because after Mongols, there's a very small tribes. It's called the Li Jun. It's like more like today's ancestor of Korea. And they mixed with some part of remains of Mongols. They become the Manchurian. So the Manchurians, they did came, how to say this way, but the Great Wall stopped them in the function way, like in Ming Dynasty. In 1644, the Manchurians, they at least attacked China for 10 times. But the last time, since the last Ming Dynasty emperor committed suicide, Ming Dynasty general opened the Great Wall, let the Manchurian in, because they want to borrow the Manchurian army to press the Chinese farmer rebellions. But the Manchurian came in without conquering the Great Wall, and they pressed the farmers' rebellion, and they stayed, become the new ruler of the country. Is Mulan real? I watched the movie. Great. Do you like it? Mulan, in the history, it is real, but we don't have too much details about how she fights or the real army life. Mulan has a different versions in the different literature works, like the poems or the articles, but not very detailed about real her life. And her military life more or less mixed a lot of people's imagination. Was Ming a great general? Ming is a very popular name. We do have some generals with a given name Ming, but I don't know which Ming you prefer. But we do have some, yeah. Okay, this is a long question. How do people generally feel about the Qing dynasty? And 谢谢, thank you. From what I know, with my limited understanding, thought of as a point of industrialization of China, from my understanding, but also seems to be point where tradition was get go in a lot of ways. My interest is more set on ancient China, but again, from my understanding, this time period seems most pivotal to China today. It's true. Well, I understand your question. Qing dynasty, first Qing dynasty is the last dynasty we have. We have the most materials about the Qing, so that's why people understand the Qing more. People connected with the Qing. But the Qing emperors, they were like rulers, they were Manchurian. When the Manchurian entered, they were very cruel to mainland Chinese. So that's why there's some hatred there. Chinese people don't like the Qing part of history. It's true. There's a kind of a between rulers and common people. Next question, when did Buddhism enter China? About 2,000 years ago, along the Silk Road. Along the Silk Road, we have a group of monks that went to ancient India and brought the books and the translations, introduced Buddhism in China. 2,000 years ago, along the Silk Road. Were they friends with Romans? There's a rumors, there's a mystery say we did have a contact with the Romans. Rome has left some remain soldiers from East Rome. They accidentally arrived north part of Asia, but being captured by the Chinese army, and they've been merged with the Chinese army. We learned from each other how to fight. There was a mystery about it, but no proof, only the rumors to say about it. Aside from the 3 usual points in Beijing tourist hubs, where is the best recommended point for people to see the wall? I believe your 3 usual sections means Badaling, Zhuyongguan, and Mutianyu. So I strongly recommend you go to Simatai, Simatai, Simatai connected with another Jingshanling Great Wall. You can spend a whole day there. It's kind of a wonderland for the Great Wall lover. Next question. If people died and were buried in the Great Wall, is it haunted? It's true, people died and been buried inside. If it's haunted, I don't know. Who were the enemies? Where did they come from? Okay, different time. Early time Hans from north part of China, not north out of China, like Mongolian area. 1,000 years ago is Mongolians, right? 2,000 years ago is Hans. It's possible to take a helicopters from the beach, the beginning of the Great Wall to the Gobi Desert. 3,000 miles, 5,000 kilometers. It take a while to do that. But if you're interested in the view from helicopter, in Beijing, the Great Wall Mutianyu has a helicopter service. You can take that. Many tourists do that. Very decent price, only about $200 or $300. So you can try it. Would you recommend visiting the Great Wall at Mutianyu rather than Badaling? We did that to avoid the crowds, and we didn't have a huge crowd. Plus, we got to go on the toboggan ride to leave. Very smart choice. The Great Wall Mutianyu is a place you can avoid the crowds and also try the additional toboggans instead of walking. Very smart choice. I heard that all embrasure opening in the Great Wall are facing China. Normally, it should face opposite directions, watching enemies. Any comments? That's a very technical, good question. Thank you. That's true. The battlement's wall should face outside to the enemies, right? But how come the battlement's wall shooting windows also open to the inside? Because when the wall usually built as the defense, but this is what the enemies thought. But if they conquer the wall, they enter the wall. So they go through the wall, arrived to the other side of the wall. They just realize they is a trap. So once you enter the wall, they usually build this surrounded inner wall inside, so they can trap them in, so they can shoot them from this side. So that's why they have this shooting windows, battlements wall face to inside, okay? Did China make fireworks? Yes, the gunpowders, we made the fireworks. I thought many parts of the Great Wall surviving are also built by Ming Dynasty and not solely by the Qing Dynasty. That's correct. Many parts of the Great Wall built Ming Dynasty. That's the last time we built the bricks Great Wall, 600 years ago. The original walls were built by the 7 states of Eastern Zhou and unified by Qing Dynasty. That is also correct. Part of the correct, because before the Qing Dynasty united the country, unified the country, the 7 kingdoms, they built the watchtowers, beacon towers. But the Qing kingdom, they unified the country and built the stair walls to connect those beacon towers or watchtowers. How long the Great Wall of China? 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers. How many bricks did it take to build the Great Wall of China? I don't know exactly how many bricks, but give you imagination. If it's 30 centimeters thick, 5 meters wide, the whole Great Wall bricks can build another wall around the earth. Also, some parts of the Great Wall are going through the mountains. How logistics to support those watchtowers worked if it is in remote location? Few people of the watchtowers can't really defend if the enemies comes. So does sound like it is practical? That's a very good question. And logistically, those watchtowers, they have the function more like soldiers guarding. Yes, only few of them. But when they see the enemies from far away, a few miles away, 10 miles away, they will start to send the signals, which is like fire, smoke, gunshots. So this will remind or call up all those commanders, army settlements around the Great Wall. They don't literally live on the Great Wall, but they live nearby the Great Wall. They were all gathered, go up to the wall before the enemies arrive the wall. And you know, when the enemies arrive the wall, they usually take a rest before they started to conquer. So that is also give the time for the soldiers for fighting, right? So that's why not literally few soldiers fight against 1,000 enemies, but they are guarding and send the signals reminding the big troops. What is the name of the movie John recommended? It is called The Great Wall. The name is called The Great Wall. Yeah. What is the best month to go? In Beijing, if you travel in Beijing, the best month is April and September. October is also good. Avoid the first 7 days. That is a golden holiday. All right. April and May, avoid the May 1st holiday, April and May, and September and October, these 4 months. Did any enemies destroy any part of the wall? Yes, all the time, many times, many times. Is the Great Wall just used for tourism now? Yes, only for the tourism now. The new movie, Mulan, it goes great where in Great Wall was it filmed. At a few places, they jumped around. The movie about the palaces that is in the movie hall, in the movie city, is like your Hollywood, but in China we have the movie city called Hengdian, and some backgrounds with limestone mountains that is in Guilin, Guilin, the bamboos that is in Anji, Zhejiang, close to the West Lake, Hangzhou. Do people need to cross a Great Wall to get from one part of the city to another? Not really. Great Wall is only for tourists, so there are certain spots that the driver or the car, or you can travel all the way from the city to that section, and you visit that part of section, and then you come back. Nobody uses a Great Wall today as a traffic length. Nobody uses that way. Is the Great Wall, if the Great Wall is not the continuous barrier, how can it protect the border? Don't people get a let me see, continuous barrier. Okay, so just now, as we said, the Great Wall is for watching, guarding, controlling the strategic point, but there are many parts have the natural high mountains for protecting from. So some parts we don't necessarily need to build the wall, only some certain parts, because even enemies don't want to go through some high mountains. There's no way. So they will choose some easy part, but has been guarded by the Great Wall. Is there any chance that the wall could or will be restored in some palaces? In some places, is there any chance that the wall could? We already renovated many parts. We haven't heard any other plans to restore more Great Wall. So far, the Great Wall we have restored are enough for the tourism. Did the Mongols break through the wall or bypassed? Yes, that's how the Yuan dynasty was built by the Kublai Khan. They did conquer the Great Wall. Is that the wall the top tourist site in China? Yes, it's one of the top sightseeing. I heard there is an elevator for physically impaired. Do you know where that is? And it is true. Yes, in the Badaling, they just built a new one. It's a kind of the gondola you can go. And the Mutianyu, they also have this chairlift and also toboggans and also the cable cars and the elevator you can go. Yes, it is true. What is a personal favorite thing about the Great Wall? My personal favorite thing is when you step on it, every time, when you imagine the history, how did the people build up this wall? How did the people fight on the wall? You will have goosebumps. That is really, really like the amazing feeling you have there. You kind of put yourself in the history. Where is the middle of the Great Wall? Shanxi province, Shanxi province. If you're interested in the Buddhism, old towns, go to Shanxi. There are a lot of Buddhism remains there, and also some part of the Great Wall. That is in the middle part of the Great Wall. Shanxi province, Shanxi, Shanxi. When we were approaching the Great Wall, there was some very tall trees with a giant net on the top. What kind of a birds prepared such a huge net? I was told that this is very typical in China. Magpie, black and white color, magpie. Did the group of 15,000 Japanese travelers bring Buddhism to Japan? Yes. And after that, we also have 2 times monks travel communicate with Japan. How tall is a Great Wall? Depends on. If you are talking about the wall itself, the tallest part is about 10 to 12 meters, which is about 4 feet. And if you talk about the the sea level, about the mountains, the tallest Great Wall is 2,000 meters above sea level. That is a mountain's height. Is there any modern day significance to the historical capitals? Is there any modern day significance to the historical capitals? We have 6 capitals, ancient capitals in China, 6. And when you travel, there's a lot of historical side involved with these 6 capitals. What is Forbidden City, and it is still forbidden? Forbidden City, we call it a Forbidden City because for protecting the emperors in Ming Dynasty, they don't allow common people to visit. They don't allow the servants inside the Forbidden City to go out. Basically, it's a kind of isolated city for the safety of the emperor. Only soldiers, few servants, they have a special pass. They can go out and in, taking care of the emperor's food supply, transportation, everything like that. That's why we call it a Forbidden City. But today, no more emperors in China, so it is only tourism place. The Forbidden City is open for over 80 years, so people can just pay the tickets and then travel inside. You need to log on the internet and book the tickets online. What other cities are there that are as big as Beijing? Beijing from the area is definitely bigger than any other cities in China, but from the population, Shanghai has a 24 million population. And we have a city along the Yangtze River. They eat very spicy foods called the Chongqing. They have 38 million people there, 38. Where did the Forbidden City get its name? It is from Ming Dynasty. In Chinese, we call it Zi Jing Chen. Zi means purple color, it's a royal color. Jing means forbidden. Chen means a city. So the name basically means this is an imperial forbidden area for the royal family. You can understand that way. How many empresses are there in China? Emperor can have as many as they want because they want a big family for the royal family and to rule the country. But legendaries say 3,000. From the real historical side, the emperor who has the most concubine in Qing Dynasty is 160 concubines. That's still quite a lot. Yeah. What are major cities apart from Beijing? Xi'an to see the terracotta warriors. Shanghai to see the modern, like New York. If I compare with Beijing, it's more like a Washington, D.C. Xi'an is more like a Boston or Philadelphia. And Shanghai is more like a New York. And of course, you can go to Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a combination of the Western culture and the Chinese culture. What was the name of the park behind the Forbidden City? Beihai, Beihai, Beihai. There's another one with a mountain there. It's called the Jingshan, Jinshan, Jingshan Mountain. Is Christianity practiced in China today? Yes. Christianity came to China about 700-800 years ago, and it's been promoted quite a long time in China. Although some emperors helped, some emperors stopped, but they are very popular in China. It's one of the 4 major religions in China. The other three are Buddhism as the biggest one, Taoism, 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 yin and yang, Tai Chi, idea, balance with the nature. That's a typical Chinese religion. The third one is Muslim. We have a Chinese Muslim here. And the fourth one is Christianity. Yeah. What is the difference between jiaozi and pot stickers? Jiaozi, which is dumplings, you can water boil them, steam them, oil fried them. Pot stickers, they opened on both sides. So they don't stick the sealed, they opened on the side. So the steam can go through. So basically pot stickers is more suitable for frying, pan frying, or the steaming. Right? Hi, my son has a peanut allergy. Is it safe for him to visit China? Because I know peanuts is one of the main ingredients in many Chinese cooking. That's correct. But don't worry about it, because before you come here or after you arrive here and ask anyone who speaks English, like your tour director or hotel service people, you can ask them to write down, I am allergic to peanuts or any peanut butter or the productions. So in Chinese, so every time when you order the foods and you can show to the waiters or the restaurant, they will immediately know, they will avoid the peanuts for you, okay? But you need to be careful because some noodles, they have the peanut butters or peanuts like a paste inside. If you see anything suspicious, you don't try it. But in general, it should be fine. With that notes, you remind people, and also prepare the medicine, whatever medical assistance if you need to have, always in your handbags, right? Chicken feet has a lot of collagen, right? Collagen. Sorry, I don't know this word, but I probably know this meaning. Very good for the beauty. It's true. It's true. Like pig feet, or many countries they use a chicken feet. Like French cuisines, they use a lot of pig feet and chicken feet. You just don't see them because they're being cooked in the broth to make the broth is more densey. All right, and this is really very good for the skin. That's correct. Is there any education about rhinos' horns so as not to kill the rhinos? Yes, we do have. And like famous celebrities, Yao Ming's, they all have those advertisements and this public education to say protect, the wild animals. Rhinos used to be one of the typical Chinese local animals, but it's got a, distinguished, and it's true. It's appeared in the history. We found the fossils, we found the sculptures, we found the records in the history, but we lost them. And later we brought them from the other countries. Rhinos we used to have, but today we do have the education for protecting all the animals, not only wild animals, distinguished animals, but also the pets, animals like this. What about dogs? They get eaten? They used to. But now, no. In the city, no. In the very rural countryside, maybe. But people have the idea. It takes time. It takes time because China from the poverty, from the starving time, was not very long history. I can easily go back to 50 years ago. China was still in a very poor situation. People find anything they can eat. Animals. It's kind of a delicious meat because they want to survive. But now we have so many, instead of food, people don't necessarily need to eat, and people have the dogs as a pets, and people have the knowledge about having dogs as a companion friends. So nobody eats friends, all right? But I have to say, in the very rural countryside, maybe it's still happening. Yeah. How did your family feel with the pandemic? Things going better there? Yes, things are going better here. My family experienced this, and since the February, because China is the very first country experienced this. We don't know how it started, but it is totally blind for us. We don't know what to do. The best way we can do is we stay home. We stay home, stay ourselves quarantined, and reduce the contact with people outside. This is the best way we learned from this practical use. We tried that way, and our family affected because the jobs. I work for tourism. I have no job. My wife at home take care of the kids, but now both of us take care of kids, and this is a good thing. We spend more time with family members. Kids cannot go to school, but now they can. Now they can. Since the September 1st, they went back to school, and we tried that before. We tried that in June. Also, kids went back to school, and in the cities, basically, we don't need to wear the mask. We can go anywhere we want. Only few places, for example, like the public area, like subways. If you take subways, public buses, if you visit some public buildings, museums, you need to wear the mask. Hospitals, you need to wear the mask. But if you go to the open area or restaurants, you don't need to wear the mask. You sit in the cinema, and every 2 seats, you need to keep it empty, so people have to sit separately. How expensive is it to live and work in China? Depends on the area. If you live in Beijing, Shanghai, like these first-line cities, more or less, it's like the standard in America. So you need to make at least about, let's say, at least $2,000 per month. You can have very common, very standard life. But if you want to have a little bit of quality life, you need to make more than $3,000 per month. If you want to save the money to buy a place to live instead of renting, you need to make at least one of you or both of you as a couple, you need to make at least $4,000 to $5,000 per month, at least, to save the money to pay for the expensive living here. I was told of the tradition at the Ming tombs, but cannot remember the full story. I was told that going in, I should say something like, I'm coming in, and on the way out, we had to say something like, I'm coming out. Do you know what I'm talking about? I may have it wrong, but would love to hear that story again. Okay, so it is a very popular stories tour guide to tell the tourists, because we say the underground palace in the tomb we built for the emperor, that is for another world of the emperor when they died. So we call it, either you call it a paradise or the other side of the world underneath the earth. So tour guide usually remind the tourists with this legendary story, say, once you enter the stone archway gate, that is we call the gate of heaven. Once you cross in, you need to remind the guard, like, hey, I'm a live person, I'm coming in here, but kind of a reminding when I go out, I'm coming out. So don't keep my soul there. I'm still a live person. I just come here temporarily visit. So I go out with my soul with me. All right. So more or less story like this. All right. It's very popular, kind of a tour guide story. Yeah. How are the hotels there? Hotels has a very similar standard like America, especially if you stay in the 5-star hotels, 4-star hotels. They have a swimming pools, they have a continental breakfast, they have a standard American service. Don't worry about it. They speak English. They speak very good English, and same style like America. You can tip the bellboy, the concierge, they will help you out with any problems, all right? But if you go lower than 4th stars hotels, it's more like your motels, but we don't have a swimming pool under 4 stars, and not necessarily staff speak English. And if you are more trusted in chain stores like the Holiday Inn, Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, all these brands, no problem. They're everywhere in the cities and everywhere in different cities. At least you go to the Holiday Inn Express. They have the standard American way. So you will feel very familiar. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Is the technology the same in the cities and the country rural area? A little bit different. The cities, urban area, definitely more advanced than the countryside. But the signals, like the data, like the Wi-Fi's, they are everywhere in the countryside. So
I mean, not a Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi. I mean, at home. So at least your cell phone has a data, has a roaming and signals. There will be no problem. So basically, if you surf the internet in the countryside, no problem. If you travel, GPS working very well, but not a Google, not how to say Google products or Instagram or like a Facebook. Not this. The whole China, not only in the city, the whole China, mainland China cannot work this way. Who did the terracotta warriors protect in Xi'an? I went there in 1982 and saw some of the warriors that were excavated. Yes, I was very impressed. 1982, that is just the year we opened, 1 year after the year we opened. That's great. Even today, you still can see the excavation sites. Those archaeologists, they are still working inside. We're still digging. We're still discovering. And who built this? The first emperor who built the Great Wall, same emperor. Same emperor built the Great Wall, same emperor built the terracotta warriors. And if any chance you travel now or see any videos, it's a very big difference because the facilities for tourists to visit terracotta warriors is much better than 1980s. I believe in 1980s was a very poor situation. Basically only a shelter to cover the pit number 1. But now we discovered 4 pits so people can see the 4 different excavation sites. When did you say the people went to the Western capital and back to Tokyo, Japan? That is about 1,300 years ago in Tang Dynasty, T-A-N-G, Tang Dynasty. You can look it up and see many materials about this part of stories. After you recommended not saying Tibet, you called the Buddhism Tibetan Buddhism. Is that just you, or would you avoid calling it that as an American? Okay, so it's totally fine. You mentioned that you travel there, no problem. I mean, no mention these 3 T's like Tibet. It's like, don't go deeper. The question, for example, they should be independent, and how did the communists take over there? So these kind of questions we don't discuss because it can go forever. People stand in a different position. It's very hard. People try to avoid it to talk about it. Yeah, that is my meaning. Like, but if you say Tibet, we have the street called the Tibetan street. No problem. No problem at all. It's only like with foreigners, it's a kind of a sensitive topic to go deeper. Yeah. Is a visa needed to visit China? Yes, you need a visa. And you have to prepare enough time to do that because they have some stricter rules about it, take times. So prepare earlier is better. What about traditions? How can visitors be advised of traditions prior to visiting China? Okay, basically I want to say be yourself. Okay, so usually how you behave in America, how people you think is a good manner or how to say the social way, it works in China, no problem. Smile to people, shake hands. This is not offending anyone. We don't have a very strict tradition now, even though if you accidentally cross some traditional lines, but people consider you as a foreigners, we will not take it offended. So don't worry about it. As just be natural, like at home, no problem at all. China is a very modernized country now, so people accept the Western culture. Very, very popular, no problem. Yeah. Do citizens eat most of the crazy food that you described? No, not really, not really. Some people are crazy with something as a snacks or company with a beer or drinks or something like that, but not necessarily. Depends on the generation. The young generation, like American kids, you know, they kind of avoid all these kind of crazy foods because we have better things, right? They don't need to try that. But why some generations still follow those crazy foods? Because when they were little and we were raised up with this because not much food to eat. So that's why people still remain in the head. Since you were little, it was food. You didn't think it's crazy or not. You didn't have much choice. But when you got used to it, when you grew up, you still kind of memory that and you still want to try it. It's your memory foods, you know, so that's why. But I believe this tradition will be dying and the young generations will not eat that. Yeah. Any suggestion on how many days to see China? I know longer is better, but minimum days. Okay, I suggest you like this way. If you have a 1 week holiday, you can see at least 2 cities like Beijing and Shanghai. If you can have 10 days about, you can see 3 cities, Beijing, Xi'an, and Shanghai. If you have 12 days or more than 12 days, you can see some countryside of China, Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, and Shanghai. If you have 2 weeks and 15 days, you can see Hong Kong plus these 4 cities I mentioned: Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Guilin, see the limestone mountains and Li River, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. You can see this. But if you have 1 month, you can take the Yangtze River cruise, to have this grand Yangtze River tour, see the 3 gorges, the Great Dam, and you can go to Sichuan to see the panda, and you can go to Yunnan to see the Chinese minorities and natives, and you also can go to see the Silk Road to see the Chinese Muslims and also the totally Western Asia culture there. So it depends on how many days. There are different suggestions. I believe later you can ask our host, Maria, so will be more questions to follow that. Yeah, is Chinese read from right to left or left to right? We used to read from right to left, but today we read the same from left to right. We used to read from the top to bottom, but today we read from left to right. Yeah, Taiwan and Japan, they kept some tradition from right to left and from the top to down, from top to bottom. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. We're more like a Western style from left to right. Do they hunt in China? Very few places in the northeast part of China, very, very few places, okay? Most places, I can say 95% of China is forbidden hunting for protecting the animals. We killed too many earlier. Now it's a time for protecting, and the government has very strict rules and very, very few places. And the guns is forbidden in China. So only very few tribes in the deep forest that still live in the wild situation, they can have the guns, knives to do the hunting, very few, yeah. We don't have the hunting troop or trip or hunting tour. We don't have that. I just realized that you took a few of my friends on the tour of China a few years ago. They were in one of the photos. No way. Wow, how small world is. No way, wow. Glad to know, thank you for telling me that. How expensive is accommodation and access to tourist attractions in China? Okay, I wanna say China is not a cheap travel because the tickets for like, for example, if you travel by car, I mean, we don't usually have the road trip for foreigners because you're required to have the local driving license. Basically, if you travel with a group, will be the most economic way to travel here. And you only, based on the tour fee you spend, basically you just prepare a little money for like some snacks, souvenirs you want to buy, or tipping to some areas, tour guides, or like servants in the hotels. The rest of the part, you don't have a big expense. Most expense in China is in the beginning, visa, air fee, and the traffic here. Taxi is very cheap, much cheaper than New York. And subways are almost like very little money. Food is very cheap. Average in the restaurant, you can spend like $10 per person per meal. You can have a very good meals, $10. You can have a very good meals. All right, no matter it's from street food or from the restaurant. But if you want to have a fancy food with your friends, if you go Dutch, and basically $20 maximum per person, it's a very reasonable price. All Chinese are still learning Kung Fu. Everybody does Kung Fu, right? Kung Fu is very traditional, and not everybody, but the tradition is coming back. My 2 daughters both are doing Kung Fu for 2 years, over 2 years already. I personally do Kung Fu for 10 years, but we don't do very brutal, like a fighting competition style. We do more like a self-control, discipline, and physical training, exercise like you do tennis, running, rope skipping, whatever. So it's more like one of a part of the popular exercises we do. So it's a little bit helpful for the self-defense, but if you really want to join the contest, the competition, or like MMA or UFC, that is a different training. That's a different training. Okay, so basically Chinese people, if they do the martial art or kung fu, they are more like doing for the self exercise, physical exercise, or meditation training. Is the Gobi Desert in China? Yes, in the western part of China, very big area. But now more and more tourists go there, have the road trips. Yeah. What was the last dynasty and when? Qing, Qing dynasty, Manchurian emperors. They started from 1644, ended in 1911, 1644 to 1911. What is the Chinese government like today? Chinese government today is more open. Leaders are more younger than before, more educated, and governments, they are more looking for, how to say, the respecting for, they own the respect from people, and also they respect the people's voice. So they always hold the audience before they have any new rules coming out, try in some certain cities, and then spread out in China, in the whole country. So most people are very, very satisfied and following today's government. People are very happy with that. I mean, most of the people who I know around me, and the people appreciate it. We know today's the situation is definitely under the leader of this government, and people appreciate it. Yeah. Did the ancient Chinese ever conquer or lay foot in Japan? No. Mongolians tried. One of the Genghis Khan's son called Mango, that sounds like this. One of the son tried to send the Navy troops, about 20,000 people. But before they arrived Japan, and they had the tornadoes, and they all died before they landed Japan. So that is only one time the Mongols tried. But Chinese nationality, Chinese, no. We never landed Japan to try to conquer, no. Yeah, in the history, no. And the other countries, we have some attached like allied forces countries earlier, for example, like Mongolia, Korea, Cambodia, Thailand, those neighbor countries, it was true, connected with China, but not really China go to conquer them. We respect them as an individual country, but they're more like allied forces, but we never take it over and say it's a part of us. We never do that, all right? So from the Chinese characters, we are not like a aggressive conquering nation. We are not like that. Yeah. What's your favorite place to visit anywhere in China from Ethan in okay. What is my favorite place? Every place is different. Every place is different. And I personally like to see something more different from cities. For example, Guilin. Guilin is a place you can have the bamboo rafting, mountain climbing, the limestone mountains visiting. They're beautiful, match the Chinese landscape paintings, the imagination. And I also like a food tour. For example, I would like go to Sichuan to eat a spicy hot pot and to see the mountains there and good tea there. And also I like to travel the minority tribes, like ethnic groups in Yunnan, Guizhou. Those places are very deep in southwest part of China. Very few foreigners, Americans arrive there because they are too far, right? What are the most common taught instruments in China? Piano. If you're talking about a music instrument, piano, violin, concussions like drums are very popular. And bands in China is popular. Many schools have that. Flute is also very popular. But piano, I should say piano is very popular in China. Many kids take the lessons. And guitar is also very popular, guitar. Yeah, traditional Chinese instrument is called erhu. It's a kind of a violin, but you put on your knee. So you're pulling like this way. They make a very beautiful sound. And in the beginning of this meeting, our host Mara put the music that is from Chinese guzheng. It's a kind of zinc music instrument, and the flute. So these two are traditional music instrument. What Chinese language dialects is widely used? Is it necessary to know Chinese? Well, I have to say English is the most popular language in the world, but Chinese is a language used by the most people in the world because China has a big population. And Mandarin is official language. Cantonese was popular in America, but now Mandarin is definitely the official language. As if you study Mandarin, you can communicate with every Chinese. And we have over 3,000 dialects, The big dialects like Cantonese, like Shanghai dialects, but only certain people, area people knows that. Mandarin is an official language you can use through over the country, no problem. Even overseas with the Chinese, you speak Mandarin, people understand. Is Beijing considered a province from the, okay, Beijing is considered as a municipality, also capital city. So it's a self-governed municipality like New York City. Yeah. The terracotta, go back to the first question. The position, the administration is the same level like a province or like a state, all right? So the level is the same, but it's a city, it's a municipality city. Were the terracotta warriors real? Were they carved from old army men? They are real. Over 6,000 pieces they are standing in front of you, literally. They are real. It is true, the art craftsmen, they copy the real soldiers' face figures to carve their face figures. But the size, because they are kind of like a 1.8 meters tall, today is considered also as a very tall, handsome guy. That could be a little bit exaggerate, all right? Because average height in Qing Dynasty 2,000 years ago is about 1.6 meters tall. But 1.8 meters tall, actually, they kind of enlarged the height to make them look more brave and aggressive. But the face figures and the shape of mustache and the hairstyles and the dressing way, they're all according to the real thing in Qing Dynasty 2,000 years ago. Are the events depicted in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms? Romance of the Three Kingdoms are true events. And where are the major wars took place in China? Are the events depicted in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms are the true events? Romance of the Three Kingdoms, if you're talking about the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, they are based on some real story of these three kingdoms, but a lot of imaginary stories involved inside, but based on the true stories. It's true. Is it true that the Great Wall will be permanently closed to tourists in future because of its condition? No. We never had that. Some remote broken areas may be not allowed tourists for the safety, but for the renovated Great Walls, at least over 10 different sections are open to the tourists. People can go. Yeah. Are there any secret tunnels that were used for escaping during the attack? Are you talking about Beijing? If you're talking about Beijing, it's true in the 1960s, because in 1950s, 60s, the whole world is still worried about the Third World War. So that time we built a lot of tunnels in underground of the city. That's for the safety, for the air attack, it's true. But later, since the whole world is getting peaceful, and in later 1960s, 70s, Beijing started to use some part of the tunnels to rebuild as the subways today, right? So no more this kind of tunnels for protecting in. It's very similar like Moscow, you know, or some other cities in the world. They used to have these tunnels for protecting, but later used as the subways. In the movie Karate Kid, did they close the wall to the public in order to film? Some part, I believe, some sections, when they shoot the Karate Kid 2, the Jackie Chan's one with the boy was the son of Will Smith, right? It's a very good movie, and the movie was shot in one kung fu school. The teacher of that kung fu school is also one of my friends. So if you come to China, to Beijing, if you're interested in visiting the school, if you come with Mara, and I would like to arrange a tour for you to visit the Karate Kid Kung Fu School, the movie shooting place. I can show you where they shoot the movie, and even you can learn some Kung Fu there. But the section of the Great Wall they shoot the movie, like the crane kick, that was a part of the Great Wall in Mutianyu. They closed that one section, one watchtower. Yeah. Was the Great Wall of China created by slaves? Were built by the slaves, were ordered to build by the Qing dynasty rulers. Okay, I'm going to answer the last 5 questions. Just randomly, I will pick up, okay? Because I really want to spend a lot of time with you guys, and very good questions. But, you know, I believe a lot of people about like time, you know, finish about it. So wrap it up in 5 questions. When were the tech cannons made? When was cannons made? Since we invented the gunpowders, in the beginning we used for the fireworks, and more or less according to the history, about 1,000 years ago in Yuan Dynasty, we started to use cannon guns. We started to use it, okay? Second question, does China still recognize members of the last emperor's family? Not really. The last emperor has no children. And since the last emperor passed away, and the Forbidden City opened as a museum for tourists, and there are some offsprings of this last emperor, but we only can tell from their name related with the royal family, but there's no special treat for them from the society, from the public, not like England or other countries. Third one, can you tell us about the silk market for shopping and jade purchases? Silk market, I believe you're talking about in Beijing, there's a market called silk market. In 1990s, it was selling silk mainly, but later for cheating the foreign tourists, they use a polyester instead of the silk. So it become a very well-known fake market. Not only the polyesters, but also any kinds of fake branded things. So like a Gucci, like a LV, something. Because it's too famous, few years ago, the silk market has been taken over by a shopping mall. So you will not find any fake stuff in the silk market. Jade is a very popular jewelry stones in China. Yes, you can buy. Mostly in the streets you buy are fake because the real jade are too expensive. So if you want to collect the jade, it's better go to the regular jade store. You can buy the real jade as a collection. But if you only buy souvenir, anywhere in the streets you can buy. Okay. Fourth question. What is the source of the conflict between the government and Falun Gong, Falun Dafa movement? Okay, this question is talking about, in my memory, is talking about 1997, 1998, before 2000, we started to have that conflict. And Falun Gong is kind of a recent kind of a religious group made up based on some a little bit from Buddhism, a little bit from Taoism, a little bit from the Christianity mixed together. And in the beginning was fine because in China, it's free to follow the religion. But later, this religion involved too many people and they started to disturbing the local government business, especially sit around the government to stop the government people's working and even attacked some government people. So that become the conflict. And because in China, our law, constitution said, it's free to have your belief as long as the religion's not disturbing the government business, right? So, but that broke the law. So that's why many of them, they left China and they went to abroad. So that's why for promoting their idea, and so they set up their stations at the different park or train stations or some areas, because in foreign countries, they have more freedom of the public speech demonstrations. But in China, we have the rule about you need to register and got the permission to do that. So that's why they cannot do this here. And so they go abroad everywhere, they do it. But basically, we define it as kind of, we call it abnormal religion group, right? The last one. Okay, interesting. Let's finish with this question. Tell us about the toilets in China. This is a real life, right? My kids are watching with me too. Okay, so toilets, traditional toilets, they are squatting toilets. Prepare for that. You're gonna exercise your core muscle, thigh muscle before you come to China, because the public toilets, many of them are squatting toilets. They are like a hole on the ground and you have to squat. And it's gonna be more powerful. You're gonna use your thigh muscle. But we do have a few sitting toilets like American toilets in every public toilet. So you have your option, you have your choice, all right? So don't worry about it. In the most public toilets, they have this we call disabled functional toilet with a wheelchair sign on it for helping some disability people. And so even you are fine, but you are not used to the squatting toilet, you still can use this toilet, special toilet, because they have a sitting toilets there. You can use it. But I remind you, you need to prepare your own toilet paper, because in most public toilets, they don't have the toilet paper. But in the big cities, they do have. In the hotels, in the family, we all have the sitting toilets. So our next generation probably cannot take the squatting toilet. That is an old tradition, old thing. And Chinese people in the public toilet, they prefer the squatting toilet because we avoid touching anything. All right, so, but people got used to squat, so there's no problem for us. As a tourist, you come here, you can see the picture. There's a sign on every door of the toilet. You can know it is a squatting or the sitting toilet, so you can take what you need. All right.
John, so that we don't end our note on a toilet talk, I gave you two questions. So if you don't mind answering these.
No problem at all. Thank you. Please answer, just curious, any Judaism in China? Are you mean like Jewish, Judah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this can be involved with history, because about 1,000 to 1,200 years ago, the first Judaism troop arrived China. They arrived at one of the 6 ancient capital cities named Kaifeng, K-A-I-F-E-N-G, Kaifeng. In Kaifeng city, that is a Song dynasty. In Kaifeng city, that time we received the first missionaries from Judaism, and they spread Judaism, and they kind of influenced a few thousand Chinese people, and they become like Judaism followers, all right? But that part of the history finished long time ago, because later it became a very small group and almost gone. And the recent history we have involved with Judaism is during the Second World War, Shanghai received about 30,000 Jewish refugees in Shanghai. So we received them without any condition of visas. As long as they can arrive China, they can stay in Shanghai, live in Shanghai. That is in 1940s, when during the Second World War. Most of them came from a Russia area, East Europe, and some of them arrived here. But after the war, most of them left China and they went to, America, Australia, Israel, different countries. And if you ask me, the Judaism, we do have Jewish synagogues, you call synagogues, right? We do have that temples in Shanghai, and they also have the organization, they also have the activities, and you can see them happen in the big cities like Beijing, Shanghai. They have their own organization, they have their own certain meeting times. Yes. What is the name of the architect who designed Bird's Nest and Opera House? Okay, I forgot this architect's name. And this is an architect designed the National Opera House, who also designed the French de Gaulle Airport. So if you look up like the de Gaulle Airport's designer or the Beijing National Opera House, you can see this is from the same architect. Bird's Nest is not designed by one person. Bird's Nest is an idea from the group of people. They've been involved and merged many architects' ideas together, and later was built by a German company, I remember, a German company, but I forgot the name of this company. Sorry, I didn't give you that detail about it.
Okay. So John, after 238 questions, you couldn't answer one. That's not too bad for a day's work, right? So I just want to thank you one more time. I know everybody who stayed on for more than 2 hours knows how interesting and informative your mind is. It's really amazing. So many chats came in thanking you for your presentation and thanking you for your knowledge and sharing everything you did. We really do appreciate it. For all of those that are still out there, for you still attending, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, without you, we wouldn't be delivering these tours, so it's a win-win. I think our tour directors love to get back into it and share their knowledge, as we love to hear from them. So I just want to thank you again. I did put up a slide of our future virtual tours so that you know what's coming. Please feel free to go onto my website, girltraveltours.com, and see what's coming up, and to also visit the tours that we have in the past. Again, I want to thank John. Thank you so much. I know it's morning for you now, so you're just getting started with your day. It's a 12-hour difference. I'm at 9:18 p.m. and John is at 9:18 a.m. I know that was asked a couple times in the chat as well. So as we say, all good things must come to an end, as this tour is going to come to an end as well. But I just want to thank my new good friend, John, and thank all of you for joining us. And on that note, I am going to end the recording and end the session. Thanks and have a good day.